Another good question. This one's actually pretty dependent on where you go. So for myself, I work for a museum, and I actually started off working in the cafe. So I started working there when I was year 12. So I didn't have any qualifications. So I just learned everything on the job, and I built myself up that way. There are a couple of other organizations who will just train you as you go. There may be some who ask for like a hospitality background or TAFE course or stuff like that, but it's the sort of thing you kind of got to research that one, because it can change quite a lot from organisation to organisation. But as a general rule of thumb, so long as you can do customer service, so long as you like talking to people and you like teaching people new things, honestly, passion will get you everywhere. So go for gold. Ooh, so that's actually a really good question. So it really depends on what company you work for and what their target audience is. So for example, I work for a museum and I primarily do the educational spiel. So I'm mostly presenting to children or VIP groups or stuff like that. There are a number of bus companies across Australia who are in need of hosts or hostesses, and they typically cater to your retirees, so stuff like Fun Over 50s or APT, so they're almost exclusively an older generation. So it really does depend on who you apply for. So a good question. That one is very dependent on who you're working for, like what company, and also what sort of a tour guide you are. Because if you're working for a private bus company, especially if it's like a high-end bus company, for those companies you can be expecting to make quite a fair bit. For the most part, your average guide, especially if you're working for something like a museum like I do, it's usually like minimum wage or just above minimum wage. But it depends. Your contract workers, which a lot of organisations will hire, they do tend to be your minimum wages. But if it's like a seasonal thing, you can expect to earn a little bit more. It is very it's one of those things you really got to research, unfortunately, so that there is no clear-cut answer to that one. So this one is a good comment because, yes, there are going to be a lot of organisations that will need you to have your own vehicle or the ability to drive, but it does depend on where you're going, because if you're looking to do like a tourism job or a tour guiding job in the city, I feel like there would be quite a fair few of those like walk around tours and stuff like that where you wouldn't actually have to drive. So I think it would be very particular to the organisation that you're applying for. Obviously it is an advantage to be able to drive or to have your own licence and stuff like that. And of course there's plenty of bus driving companies that are looking for so many drivers and guides and both. But it does really depend on where you're going and what you want to do. Havoc believes in you. Hey, Haz.